let's do one more here for Algebra 2, Lesson 25. And the reason I chose to do this one is because instead of the x being squared, the y is squared. So I still know it's a parabola because only one of them is squared. But this one I know is going to open to the right because the y is squared and it's positive. So over here, I'm going to say, hey, this is a parabola, and it opens to the right. Okay, so I know that. You can still find your vertex. You know, it's usually x equals negative b over 2a, but now it's going to be y equals negative b over 2a. So here's your a, your b, your c is actually 0 because there's nothing, no constant over here. So the opposite of b would be what? A negative 8. And a is 2. So I have negative 8 over 4, which is a negative 2. So that's my y value. Now, it's the same difference. I'm going to find my x value by plugging that in everywhere I see a y. So I'm going to plug this in. And this is just a nice little trick to find the vertex. That gives me 4. 4 times 2 is 8, minus 16, which is negative 8. So that's my x value. Now be really careful when you write your vertex. It's not negative 2, negative 8. The x value always comes first. So it should be negative 8, negative 2. So I'm going to come over here, and here's my vertex. Negative 8, negative 2. Okay, now if you think about your graph real quick, and I'm just going to sketch this out real quick. If you go over negative 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you go down 2, and I'll graph this better here in just a minute, and it opens right, hopefully it's going to open something like that. This is your axis of symmetry right here. Woo-hoo, I told you that was bad looking through my phone. That line right there is y equals negative 2. So my axis of symmetry is the line y equals negative 2. Okay, so that's basically my answer that I've kind of asked you guys to kind of box it in so it's a little easier to find. Now, I'm going to graph that here in just a minute, but something else I asked you to do was go ahead and complete the square. So let's practice doing that. This doesn't have that extra value, so this is going to be not too bad, but do remember that this right here has to be a 1. So I am going to factor that out. So I've got y squared plus 4y. Leave some space for that magic value right there. All right, then you're still going to find the magic value. You're going to half it and square it. So half of 4 is 2. If I square it, I get 4. Now, here's what's tricky about the parabola. Really what I did is add 8. You can see if I multiplied this back in, that 2 times 4 is an 8. So what I have to do, because I want to keep this guy all by himself, is because I added 8, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to undo it. I'm going to subtract 8. So what I have here, so I want to write this as something squared. This right here, that's y, because y squared gives me that. Half of a positive 4 is a positive 2. And you can see that 2 squared would give me the 4. So this would be my equation right here. This is in standard form. Now, be careful if you get one that's in standard form. A lot of people, again, would want to say the vertex is negative 2, because that's what makes it 0, negative 8. But this is your y value. So when you think about your vertex, the y value is negative 2. What's tagged on the end, okay, is your x value. So there's that one. All right, so I do want to have both of these boxed in. Your answer's here. I want you to go ahead and complete the square and put it in standard form. It takes a little extra time, but it just depends what instructor you have and what they make you do. So therefore, I'm making you do both. Okay, so let's graph this real quick. Make sure everybody's okay with the graphing. If you're not, if you're okay, skip this part. That's one reason I put it on the end. But right here, my vertex is negative 2, negative 8. So I'm going to come over here. There's negative 2, negative 8. Okay, I think that's that. It's kind of hard sometimes to look through my phone. Okay, I know it opens to the right. So it's going to go something like this. Wait a minute. I did just do that wrong. It is negative 8, negative 2. Good thing I just looked up there. So he's sitting right there. Okay, and he's going to look something like this. So you can see it is going to go through here. So there's two ways to do that. You can go to your original one, which I think is really easier. If you plug in a 0 for y, because that's my nice one, notice what comes out as 0. So it's actually going to go through the point 0, 0. Okay, here's my axis of symmetry right there. So you can see if it's up 2, it's also going to be down 2. So it's going to be somewhere right there. Okay, because this is my axis of symmetry. Whoops. So I've got a pretty skinny little parabola that looks like this. Now, if you want one more point, you could plug in something close to this for your y value. Here my y value is going to be what? Like a -1? Should be something, pick in something nice. So if I plug in a -1 right here, let's try that. If I plug in a -1, that's 1. 1 times 2 is 2. So let me write this right here. -8, because 8 times -1 is -8. So that gives me what? -6. 2 minus 8 is -6. So I've got the point -6, -1. Remember, it was the y value that you plugged in -1. So you got to be really careful there. So I have then another point, -6, -1. So here's the point, -6, -1, which I kind of had guessed that already. And there you go. And I actually have 5 nice points on there. I want you to have at least 3. 5 is even better. It helps you with the shape just a little bit. And there you go.